Welcome to Exit Frag. I'm Zeph. I'm joined by esports Andy. Today we are going to be talking about Sentinels and their appearance at Masters Bangkok and some of the comments that had been said in press interviews afterwards. Andy, Masters Bangkok was not the event that Sentinels were expecting. Yes, they returned to form as top 2 in Americas, but it was not great for them, and they had a very similar performance as they did at Champions. They were top 8, and then they kind of just didn't really do much past that. And here we see them going out 2-0, 0-2 at Bangkok. Their first loss was to DRX, and then their second loss was to Team Liquid. And there were a lot of instances where, it just looked awful.
They had two maps where they got absolutely blown out. Two of the
Yes.
worst blowouts of the Masters, actually, with Lotus against DRX, their own map pick, getting blown out 13-3, and then in a map 3 on Bind 13-1 to be eliminated. I think that doesn't bode well. Of course, it's you can say whatever you want about Team Liquid. Team Liquid is the top team now. And then DRX is the top team in Pacific, so maybe you don't have to be super worried about those maps regionally, but also if you're Kaplan, you would go back on over those maps with a fine tooth comb because that if you want to be a top team, you can't be blown out like that.
Yeah, I think it's really bad that they didn't have a grasp of what DRX was doing on Lotus, especially because they have played this against this type of composition like so much. Like there's nothing like really new or exciting here. And then we even see like Sentinels switch up their composition last minute on Lotus as well. Like they're not running Tejo when John QT has been the best Tejo in Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well,
I'm just confused.
it feels like they make so many decisions off of scrims.
Yeah,
Like it must be off of scrims because they keep changing things. Because it must be that the players don't feel comfortable in their roles. Like we've seen behind the scenes things with Narrate just not feeling comfortable playing the game, not on agents, but just playing the game,
right.
picking duels and missing. And we saw this countless times. We saw this in his player cam when he'd miss like a shot, he'd be like, and I'm like that you can't get that vibe. Like that's not a good vibe.
No, and
Like
and there's the clips of the Americas on the replay where like you see Zels is having
yeah,
to like tell them to like stop the sighing or stop the tilting. Like you can't be doing this in like these matches.
it must be. And I dogged on Saucy, and now I feel bad dogging on Saucy before this season, being like, "Oh, Narrate's such an upgrade," because it's clear that Saucy did a lot of small things for the team.
Right.
In Tens did too. Tens is that like I could see how the personalities, while good as like friends, and maybe but just not good as like a team.
Yeah.
Like everything behind the scenes just kind of furthers my opinion on that. That it's just that they're so serious, but they don't have like that. Like John QT's like a younger guy too. Like this is his second season as an IGL in Tier One.
Yeah, I think they're really the distinctions are between like the two new players and the core that was like already there. And I think I've mentioned this before, the fact that I don't think that they gel as well as like we initially think that they would. Uh and yes, I feel like Bang, yes, he's a good player, but I somehow don't feel like he like fits in with this team as well as he did with 100 Thieves. And Narrate, as good as he is, I feel like a lot of his game is carried by his emotion, which is usually not a bad thing in this game, but it just feels overwhelming at this point.
Well, and I think part of the issue is that their star player, Zekin, is a very humble guy, and I
Yeah,
think that's actually an issue when your star player is like, "Oh yeah, I'm not the best player." Like,
right.
but you are the best player, so play like it. Like you got to carry this team sometimes. And I could see if Zekin is, like, oh, I got to play for my team. I got to like set up, narrate. I got to get this space, not just get the kill. sometimes you just gotta get the kill. You gotta be like, oh screw, like you gotta go ass fast mode and go like, screw you guys all suck. I'm gonna go off.
Yeah.
And Zekin has that ability, yet he doesn't really do it that often.
Yeah, I also feel like this played part in like the match versus Team Liquid, where like they went overtime and they ended up winning thanks to like Narrate's like incredible performance. But then like you see the next map and it's like a complete like swing around. Like it's Narrate has 5 kills for the entirety of the map. and,
Mm-hmm.
and and I don't know. It's just I know what it feels like to like, oh, you got an ace right away, and then like, oh, then you got first killed the next round. And I feel like this is kind of what happened, but like in a on a way bigger scale. Like
Mm-hmm.
Narrate did really well on that second map, and on the third map they just got stomped.
And I think part of the issue was that specifically how Nats plays, how he just is so annoying. Like I couldn't imagine playing against a player like Nats when he's on it because he's somewhere that you didn't think like, oh, we know that that place is clear, or there's no way he like tucked all the way over there and then he gets 3 shots. Like he doesn't just get one, he got three. Like, and I could see that just snowballing, tilting set like this younger Sentinels team that there's still everyone really hoped that they would go like Sentinels fans really hoped that they would be right away Masters Madrid level, like we got it right away, but it's clear that this team either like their identity is still really shifty and they still don't have any key on what that is.
Yeah. Um, I saw the post game interview with the Sentinels, and they had mentioned that they feel like they've lost their identity as a team. I think that's a pretty concerning line coming from the guy who is like the emotional leader of this team. When he's saying things like that, and I know like it's like right after the interview, so after the match, so like emotions might be like more amplified or higher than usual, but I don't think that's a good sign for the team moving forward, especially when you have like newer players. I'm worried that this team will not stay together. Do I think that they're going to make like changes like immediately? No, but I also don't think that they're willing to continue like this.
I My thought process is that I think Narrate would be perfect on NRG, not with his agent pool, but his personality. Because he's like
Mm,
a serious guy that likes to take like he feels like a CS:GO player. Plays really on
possibly.
like emotions and like Valorant players play on emotions all the time too, but it's like the I'm gonna be really hard on myself all the time if I not like the best ever, and I feel like FNS could really work with that.
Yeah,
And
I
I
could see
think with
that.
like a John QT or like a Sentinels that are more like, hey, dude, you're okay, like chill out, like that might not work for him. I don't know, like I don't know the guy at all whatsoever, but like maybe he just needs a different
Like
like
team, yeah.
coaching style, like because maybe Aang was like tougher. Maybe Aang was
Possibly.
like, oh yeah, like that sucked, like do better. And
Yeah.
then I don't know the dynamics within this team, but I just feel like this team doesn't. The pieces are good pieces, but not connecting.
Yeah, I'm pulling up over here Cubert Academy, and I'm trying to see like who they would bring in. I mean, I couldn't see them bringing in like T Dog or Nismo, considering they're the ones playing. I guess that like initiator role, but like maybe Scuba
What?
or possibly Redux, because they've been wanting to. They signed
Because
Redux for a reason.
you could move Zekin off of entry
No,
and move Redux. Because I think you could move Zekin off of it.
I don't think so.
Because I just don't think long term he's going to be always a duelist. And I think you can start if
I don't think
Because
I agree with you. I don't think every player is long term going to stay on the like every good duelist player is going to stay on the duelist position. But I don't agree that they need to take him off. I think Zekin is in his prime right now,
I think
and
he's in his prime, but not with this team. Like with the structure of this team, and if you brought like the only player I could see you bringing up is Redux, and then I wouldn't want to move Redux off of his preferred role. And that's the problem with like I guess going down into your. It's just this team is such a hard team to try to fix because they're good, but they're not great, and their identity's so funky.
yeah, yeah, I do have to agree. I don't know exactly when Redux turns 18. That's not something
I
I
thought that
have
was
a.
like after Toronto or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it's after Toronto. I think it's midway through the year, but
They're not even going to do that.
I think Scuba is 18. I think
Yeah,
could be
there's a
wrong.
lot of good players they could bring in. I don't know. This team, the weeks that they have before Split One, they're going to be cracking hard. They're going to be making some big.
Hey,
If
they could bring in Verno.
they play Inferno,
They could bring in Verno. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Like you know, they had their moments. I mean, I think even Bang had their moments, but I think like for me, like Sentinels like is a lot shakier than they were like last. Obviously, like last year. Last year they won, but I don't know. I see things falling apart, and it's not a good sight to see.
but then again, like they still did good. They still made it to like I know that's not like a Sentinels fans don't want to hear this that they still made it to Masters Bangkok and like didn't completely like they had moments
No,
and
they did. They went 0-2. That's pretty bad. At
yeah,
Bangkok,
but
at
at least
Bangkok, it's bad.
at Bangkok. But the thing is that you still didn't have to go and look back at their perform. Like they could have just had a bad tournament.
You're
Like
right. You're
they
right.
might have just, and that's why I wouldn't go into like alarm modes yet. If they go into like split one and they're just looking like dog, then start switching things because I could see where players are coming from
Right.
with
I,
identity.
I want to preface this because I know that we're gonna get some people in the comment section saying, "Oh, like you're overreacting and stuff like that." Like the reason I am choosing the overreacting stance is because there are so many times where teams will be satisfied with making the
Mm-hmm.
international, making it just being there, and then that's all they care about. But then there's also just winning like internationals too, and they'll keep like that same roster to keep making internationals but never getting close to winning it. And we've seen Sentinels already like do that once, and I do feel like Sentinels is that type of org that they want to win,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not even close this time.
There's a reason why they won two, and it's because they've always been changing their roster. They've always been if something didn't work, like of course they probably would have kept tens if he didn't retire.
Right.
But like they ended up making changes over the off season again after being poor, and we'll see. We'll see what they do. If that's like really true their philosophy, then they might go insane and do something I think dumb and make any sort of change.
I will say they did do that dumb thing before though. When they
Yeah,
changed the when they fired I forget Psycho.
yeah.
Yeah, they fired Psycho and they got rid of Def like right away. So it's not like the strangest thing to have ever happened at Sentinels.
It wouldn't be, but it, yeah, I just don't know how they're for them. This next couple weeks is going to make their season.
Yep.
Like either they're going to absolutely crash out, or they're going to make the last two internationals and maybe make a run.
Yeah. All right, and that was our conversation about what is going on at Sentinels. That is the end of the week for content for us at Exit Frag, but join us next week when we preview and predict VCT Americas. For Esports Andy, I'm Zeph. We'll see you next week.